Alrighty guys, a very warm welcome to another video. So again, we've had a few videos about, different athletes' perspectives on the move from Kona to Nice for the Ironman World Championships for the professional males in 2023. I came across this article, which was from 10 days ago, December the 13th, by Tim Hemming, and this is just a blog post or an opinion piece titled "Why the World Champs Location Change is the Right Move for Ironman." Now, I've been a little bit vocal with my opinion on it, in the fact that I do think it's really it's unfortunate for the sport. I think that Kona really holds a very sentimental and special place in the heart of many Ironman athletes. However, we can only control what we can control, and this move is done and dusted, and we got to look to the positives. And now I haven't read this article yet, but I want to read through it, give my opinions on it, and maybe put a little bit more of a positive light on the whole thing, because I don't want to be too pessimistic with the whole thing. So, why the World Champs location change is the right move for Ironman. This was an article from 220, sorry, triathlon. So, with the proposed 2-day format in Hawaii, cabooshed, Ironman has decided to split the men's and women's race between Kona and Nice for 2023, and it can work. Mauna Loa wasn't the only news erupting from the big island of Hawaii in the last week of November. So we know that was, taking off. Some lava was coming out of that old volcano, and it coincided with the news of Kona being moved for the professional men's in 2023 to Nice, and it seemed like the island wasn't happy. It kind of reflected the views and opinions on this news by many of the athletes, but nonetheless, let's read through. So, while the world's largest volcano blew for the first time since 1984, the leaks were coming thicker than a lava flow, that next year's Ironman World Championship was heading to Nice. Ironman have yet to officially confirm the location, but this is very much like the strong rumor or opinion, but that hasn't been officially confirmed yet, or at least the men's race was. An almost instant rethink. So, having confidently announced that Ironman Worlds would continue to be a 2-day event in Hawaii in 2023, local unrest forced a rethink among almost as soon as the MDOT Roadshow rolled out of Kiloa, Kona in October. So there was a lot of uproar from the locals, apparently, and it does surprise me to an extent, but it also doesn't. I understand the disruption for your everyday local, but I also think that the revenue that this event brings, particularly spread over 2 days, so it's going to be even more revenue for the island and Kona itself. But I get it. It's disruptive. You've closed one of the major highway, the Queen K, for 2 days during this 1 week, and many disruptions for the local residents. So I understand that frustration. In many ways, the now one-off 2-day event had been a success. It was a solution to the backlog of qualifiers hankering after their dream race post-pandemic. It was also, finally, a platform to showcase an independent women's race that provided great stories. And indeed, there was this huge backlog of athletes with the whole pandemic that we've been through, and Kona not being able to be a location that was able, or many triathlons not being able to be run during the whole thing. So, there was a backlog of athletes. They really had to do it over 2 days. There was too many to get through in the 1 day. But there were also issues such as a shortage of volunteers and closing the highways for 2 days that stoked the ire of residents. So a U-turn was in the offing, and this is weird language. This is like strange vocabulary. And Ironman had about as much chance of keeping a lid on its own news as the Big Island residents did of stopping Mauna Loa lava jets shooting 200-foot skyward. Split races. The answer? The promised women's only race remaining on the Big Island next October, while the men's race shifts 8,000 miles east to South France and held a month earlier. The expectation, if this policy proves successful, would be for the men to race in Hawaii in 2024. And I'm assuming that the women would then race in Nice in 2024 too, and kind of go back and forth. This quote here: Nice offering a great course in the triathlon heartland with a history dating back to 1982. It feels like the right move. Not my opinion, but definitely shared by some people. It feels like the right move, as the switch and lack of uptake for St. George for the delayed 2021 Ironman World Championship showed this year. Kona remains the holy grail, the obsession. If the genders are to be split, the women deserve first dibs. Even in a sport that prides itself on equality, they too often get short shrift racing midweek, while the men get plum weekend slots. Kona top 10 finisher Laura Siddle also was just one of many female pros to echo this sentiment. So that is a good point. Obviously, when you put the men on a Saturday during the week, or a Sunday even during the week, and you have the women's midweek, you do kind of take away from the the spotlight on the women and putting it more towards the men because they're on the weekend, whereas women are during the week. And obviously during the week, there's going to be a lot less people that can really get out there. People are working, the local residents are working, get out there and support. So it does kind of shortchange them in that sense. And I do agree with that. So I think the solution is to have them on the same day, or why can't you even do one on Saturday and one on Sunday? But nonetheless, it's definitely a good point that, putting the women on the Thursday as it does kind of detract a little bit from, their spotlight in Kona. So a Kona rival once again. As for Nice, it has the potential to offer a great course in a triathlon heartland, and considerably less costly for Europeans than making the pilgrimage to the mid-Pacific. Good point again. Obviously, a lot of the professional athletes do come from those European countries, and therefore it's going to be a lot more accessible for those athletes particularly. It also has a history dating back to 1982, won 10 times by Mark Allen, Ironman Nice, when it rivaled Kona as the premier long course race. Ironman could have picked up far more in hosting rights had they headed to the Middle East, but finding a non-Kona course and location engaging enough to entice athletes to fork out for slots would be a challenge. It's not perfect. There's sympathy for those already qualified for Hawaii in 2023, who will now be forced to change plans. They should be adequately compensated, and I entirely agree. And finally here, worth a try for try. There's also the threat of profit becoming too tempting to ignore, and thousands of extra slots being made available that would dilute the quality and undermine the long-term value of the race. Yet, it's a concept that merits being tried and serves as a hint that Ironman may have finally outgrown the Big Island. I think the Big Island really is the heart of Ironman, but that's my opinion. Hawaii will always remain at its core. It just won't be its everything. So, an interesting take on the issue and more of an optimistic outlook than otherwise. I do think they raised some good points, particularly with the women's event kind of being, detracted away from the attention, or having the attention on them when they do it midweek and rather on the weekend, as like they do for the men. I think you could just run it both on the same day, as it always has been, and not have so much abundance of slots. But I understand that, particularly after this year, because there was that backlog, and now there shouldn't really be that backlog for 2023. But it also does raise the concern that does Ironman go, okay, now we've got individual days, we open up a whole bunch more slots, $2,000+ for an entry to the Ironman World Championship. We're going to make a killing of a profit. And Ironman's a business. Obviously, their profit incentive, there's incentive to make profits with any business, and that's going to drive them heavily. And I think it's very hard to ever make a decision without being a for-profit business, without that in the background motive, or being a background motivation for you making those decisions. So I think it's, there are still positives to come out from it. And like we've mentioned in earlier videos, the course is so different with so much more actual climbing. Kona's by no means flat, but the course in Nice will have a lot more climbing and actual climbs, where it will open up the field for different types of athletes to perform well. And I think in a world championship, obviously take the cycling world championships, take the running world championships, athletics, swimming, they're never in one location only. They're always split around. So it's not crazy to have this as a concept. I do think it's strange to have them at different locations for men and women and at different times. That's my opinion, and that's shared by a lot of people. But there are some positives, and I do see the positives, but it's hard to get away from that pessimistic outlook from Ironman or of Ironman in general making this decision, because it seems like it's in some sense disingenuous because they can open up more slots, make more money. But then it's also like, well, if the residents in Kona are upset, you don't want to upset them to the point whereby Kona gets cancelled completely. So it's a tough one. But I think, yeah, there are certainly positives, and we should be looking forward. We can't change it. We can't go back in time. We can't reverse decisions that aren't in our control. And I think that, for anyone who is planning on getting to the Ironman World Championships, it's in no way less prestigious to be racing in Nice. Now I think that it's an absolute decision than it is otherwise in Kona. So, hopefully this doesn't unravel Ironman too much, and everyone can, move forward and still have those dreams of getting to Kona, but also just getting to World Championships in general. Even if, getting to Kona is every second year as an opportunity, it might make it even harder and even more prestigious and even more difficult to qualify. So good and a bad thing for some people. Take care, guys. Hope you enjoyed that little general discussion about the whole issue. Let me know your thoughts below, and I'll see everyone in the next video.